Every fucking person who says my anime list has a bad layout is simply wrong. They're just wrong. Like, this entire website is optimized completely to have information stored everywhere. Every turn you go to on the website, there is something there. You look on the top. There are your messages, your notifications, you can tab onto your profile, and then you have blog post, bookshelf, etc. You can go to the website there. Over here, you have anime, manga, search, community. All of these different facets of the website are set to one bar. You go down further, you have your profile picture just scrunched down here. Then you have the name of the profile typed neatly. You have all of the information about said profile on one side. You have all of their friends, and then in the middle here, you have all of the information about their anime consumption. Go through watching, you can go through completed, on hold, dropped, and then it has statistics, and everything is nuzzled in perfectly. Everything is organized, everything's put together by groups, and even though it's so organized, they're still able to pack the entire website with information. Every turn you go to, there's information. You go to the bottom, favorites. Once again, this is another case of being very, very optimized. You get characters, you get people, you get manga, you get anime, and they all just kind of go down, and you can click on any of them. You just go down from there, and it's a 10 out of 10. You got comments on the bottom, finally. Everything there is a 10 out of 10. Like, there's no arguing against this layout, simply because everything is packed together neatly, and there's so much there. There's so much on Mal on one page, and yet it still looks totally organized and looks totally good. I really like the system that they have of just putting everything in one place. You get anime stats and then anime updates in the same place. You can look at everything that person's done, and you have this little neat bar here that's color-coded. I'm a big fan of color coding because it just puts information in a neat form. Everything about this website is in a neat form. And then when you go on to the front page, it's more of the same. You get the current season of anime. You can just immediately go through all of them. You look at all of the latest updated episodes, suggestions. You know, all of this is very, very organized. All of it has a clear point to it as to why it's organized in this way. And it's helpful when you go to the front page. And again, you have all of these tabs up here that you can just go find stuff that you need on the website. And it's very, very useful. Now, you go somewhere like Kitsu, and immediately it shows you trending this week. It shows you a bunch of categories for some reason. Top airing anime. It looks very slick. It looks very modern, but it doesn't have that very packed in, spacious, organized feeling. You go to Mal, front page. Look at all of this stuff that's on the front page. There's so much here. This does not have much of a bar up here. You have feedback here for some reason, which isn't even that useful. This page is not packed to the brim with things. It's not packed with useful things. It looks really sleek and modern, but that does nothing in the face of having sheer density of useful things. My anime list has sheer density of useful things. Kitsu is bad. Kitsu is outright bad. It doesn't have that same level of density to it. Now you get to AniDB, and I actually kind of like this website. It very much has a similar type of old aesthetic to it that Mal has, where it's somewhere like 4chan, where you would go and it looks like it's old internet, which aesthetically I find to be very appealing. I feel like it is less optimized for just having like, oh, sheer density of information, as I was saying, and all that, but it basically has all the same stuff. If I recall correctly, Mal actually gets a lot of its information from AnyDB, and there's more stuff here. So I would say they're on basically like equal level, just because I feel like Mal, when you go to people's profiles, you know, the way it has everything just set up in one place, and you can see, as I said, color coding, you can see how many days, their mean score, you have all of these useful numbers for them, and, you know, their updates and all that, and all of their other information just all in one place, and they're all organized. You know, that is a great advantage about looking at individual profiles. AnyDB has similar things. It definitely has a lot of great information to it. It has a lot of the good things that Mal has, just for lacking, you know, that same level of density to it on personal profiles. I think it is lacking in that regard. This website has a lot of cool statistics on it. You can go to genre overview, you can look at like the days of activity. There's just so much stuff. And if you want to talk about density, as I was talking about for Mal, this one certainly comes close, because you can see all of these stats. It's all here. You have all of these favorites, everything. It's all good. This is really nice, the way that they optimize this so similarly to Mal. By far the biggest feature of the site is the fact that you can look at the genre overviews. This is something that it has far over Mal, but where the site is lacking, in my opinion, is just how cluttered it feels. For example, let's go back to Mal. You know, as I said, each section of the website is kind of dedicated to a certain thing. Obviously, you have the top, which is dedicated to just navigating the site, but on the side, you have the information about the person. Then in the middle, you would have all of the personable stuff, all the stats about them. You know, it feels utilized for navigation. You go to AnyList, and this feels very cluttered. Right here we have the bio, and then you have activity right under that, which it looks kind of weird. And then just on the side, you have like this mess of other things, and it's, you know, it just doesn't look good having all of these things sort of just thrown together. You have all of these stats, like the days watched, etc., just going down, and it makes the page feel very long. You don't want to be scrolling down that page so much. I tend to prefer having 3 columns, as this is. I would refer to this as 3 columns, more or less, where you have the personal information is all scrunched into one small aspect of the screen. Then you have the stats, which is kind of scrunched into one small aspect of the screen. And then I would say favorites and list updates and stuff like that is kind of often its own thing. Of course, you, as I said, you have favorites down here, which is kind of its own cluster in its own regard. The page doesn't go down very long, right? They try very hard to make it all sort of fit in the smallest amount of space they possibly could while still being in organized groups. This does not feel organized to me. It feels like you have to scroll down this giant page to just get through everything, and it's not peak performance, you know. It's too much. It's too much cluttered into 2 areas when I feel like segregating it into multiple groups is what's ideal, and having those groups be placed in the most organized, smallest fashion you possibly can, but for the most information, is ultimately the best layout, and that's why Mal has the best one. AnyList, it's got cool stuff. As I said, it's got the darn stats there. You know, it's cool, but not cool enough to continue going to this website. If they just did their aesthetics better. And I mean, the thing about AnyList and Kitsu is that they both go for this very like sleek, modern looking aesthetic, but despite having that, which I personally find that aesthetic completely lacking in charm, but even negating that, AnyDB, I didn't like the aesthetic of that website as much as I like Mal, but because they optimized it so well, because each space is utilized properly, it didn't bother me that much. And I mean, I do like the aesthetic, but I don't like it as much. And these, they have this sleek, dumb-looking modern look that I don't like, but if they made up for that sleekness and that sort of modern type of outline with sheer density, then I could forgive it, you know? I'd be into those websites, but they don't. They feel very, very long-winded and bad, and I hate them, and they're not good, and Mal is a 10 out of 10, and everyone who disagrees is wrong.